Chapter 391. What happened to the flying ape? Hundreds of pairs of eyes stared at the ground, waiting for the result. Soon, the dust settled and the scene below was revealed. First, there was a giant palm print that was dozens of meters long and wide. In the huge palm print, the flying ape lay there like a dead dog. There were several long spears that were condensed from spiritual chi piercing through his body and nailing him to the ground. The flying ape's eyes were wide open, and they were filled with indignation. However, he was no longer breathing. He was dead. The flying ape had been killed. He was the most powerful person in the area and a genius who had won 3 battles. He had been killed just like that. Everyone gasped and felt a chill run down their spines. Even in large regions and empires, 3 World War III geniuses were extremely rare. They were exceptionally powerful. If such a person did not die, it would not be a problem for him to break through to the martial king realm in the future. He might even reach a higher realm. However, he had died just like that. Everything was for naught. A general's success was built on thousands of bones. Every top powerhouse had stepped on piles of bones and other geniuses' corpses to reach their current heights. At that moment, the other young men who had come with the flying ape from the Flying Tiger mountain range were trembling in fear, and their faces were pale. They had left secretly. The flying ape was already dead. If they stayed, wouldn't they be courting death? Lu Ming could not be bothered with those small fries. He moved and appeared beside the flying ape's corpse. He used his true chi to sweep up the storage ring and devour the blood essence. Then Lu Ming soared into the sky and left. Lu Ming landed in the north of the city. He found a room and walked in. Then he appeared in the Temple of Paragon. During this period, he had obtained too many storage rings and had not carefully cleaned them. He had only roughly cleaned them and removed the spiritual herbs. As for the spiritual crystals and spiritual weapons, he did not have time to clean them up. During this period, Lu Ming had obtained many storage rings left behind by Martial Ancestor Realm 5 Martial Ancestor Realm, and above. There were too many things inside. Lu Ming checked them one by one. There were many lower spiritual crystals, middle spiritual crystals, and even upper spiritual crystals. A middle-grade spiritual crystal was equivalent to 100 lower-grade spiritual crystals. One upper spiritual crystal was equivalent to 100 middle spiritual crystals, or 10,000 lower spiritual crystals. Lu Ming put the spirit crystals into several storage rings. Lu Ming didn't count them carefully, but if all the spirit crystals were converted to low-grade spirit crystals, Lu Ming estimated that it would be no less than 1 billion spirit crystals. Yes, 1 billion spirit crystals. During this period of time, Lu Ming had accumulated too many spirit crystals, and had not spent them all. Lu Ming calculated that once the Dtion Divine Guard selection was over, he would go out and purchase a large amount of demonic beast blood essence to raise the grade of his bloodline. Other than spirit crystals, there were also many spirit weapons. Of course, the spiritual grass had already been refined by Lu Ming. There were also some refining materials, secret manuals, and all kinds of miscellaneous things piled up in several storage rings. However, there wasn't anything too precious, and it wasn't of much help to Lu Ming. After these things were cleaned up, more than a day had passed. Lu Ming then left the Temple of Paragon and strolled on the streets. Swoosh, swoosh. However, not long after Lu Ming walked on the streets, the sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. Figures flew over and stopped in front of Lu Ming. Lu Ming frowned. These people weren't in the same group, but in 3 groups. It was obvious that they were from 3 different forces. However, what was the meaning of these 3 forces standing in front of him? He had never seen these people before. Brother, please don't misunderstand. I am Han Valley's Han Lu Mu. One of the groups was mostly dressed in snow-white robes. Among them, a young man in his mid-20s cupped his fists and smiled at Lu Ming. Han Valley. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Lu Ming had heard of this region before. It was a small region not much bigger than the Cloud Emperor mountain range. Han Lu Mu's aura was extraordinary. He might be the strongest person in the Han Valley. I am Wu Hui from Mingyan Peak. I am Yi Tianan from Yankai Lake. The other 2 groups of people cupped their fists at Lu Ming. Obviously, these 2 people were the leaders of their respective forces. Mingyan Peak, Yankai Lake? Lu Ming muttered. These two regions were also small regions, just like the Han Valley. However, Lu Ming had never interacted with people from these regions. Why were they looking for him? May I know your name? Han Lumu smiled. Lu Ming. Lu Ming said. There was nothing to hide about a name. So it's Brother Lu. We have something to discuss with Brother Lu. Can we talk in private? Han Lumu said and pointed to the sky. What's the matter? There's no harm in talking here. Lu Ming frowned and said. Brother Lu, this involves an ancient ruin. I'm afraid it's not good to let others know. Yi Tiannan from Yankai Lake whispered. Ancient ruin? Lu Ming raised his eyebrows and felt even more strange. Could it be that these people were looking for him to ask for his help? All right. Immediately, Lu Ming nodded and flew into the sky. Han Lumu, Yi Tiannan, and Wu Hui also flew into the sky. Lu Ming was not afraid of any tricks. Although Han Lumu and the other two gave off a strong feeling, they were even stronger than the flying ape. However, Lu Ming was not afraid. Even if the three of them joined hands and he was no match for them, it wouldn't be too difficult for him to escape. Speak. Why are you looking for me? I don't believe that you guys would be so kind as to find me in an ancient ruin. In the sky, Lu Ming went straight to the point. Brother Lu, don't misunderstand. Because opening the ancient ruin requires 4 keys. The 3 of us each have 1 key, and the 4th key is in Brother Lu's hands. Han Lumu smiled. In my hands? Lu Ming was stunned. Haha, to be honest, Brother Lu, that key was originally on the flying ape. Since you killed the flying ape and took his storage ring, that key is naturally in Brother Lu's hands. Han Lumu smiled. So that's how it is. Lu Ming suddenly understood. Brother Lu, did you see a tiger-shaped, palm-sized key in the flying ape storage ring? Han Lumu asked. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Then, with a move of his hand, a black, palm-sized, tiger-shaped iron token appeared in his hand. Is it this one? Lu Ming asked. When he was sorting out the items, he did find this iron token in the flying ape storage ring. However, he didn't know what it was used for, so he threw it aside. Could it be an ancient ruin key? It's this one. Han Lumu and the others were overjoyed when they saw it. Then, their hands glowed and a dragon-shaped iron token, a tortoise-shaped iron token, and a phoenix-shaped iron token respectively appeared in their hands. The 4 keys have been gathered. That ancient ruin can finally be opened. Han Lumu was overjoyed. Chapter 392. It turned out that they had stumbled upon an ancient ruin. According to speculation, it was the cave of an expert from the Dongming ancient battlefield. However, the cave was covered with inscriptions, making it impossible to enter. Only by gathering all 4 keys could one enter. Previously, including Flying Ape, 3 people had arrived. They had been waiting for Wu Hui from Bright Beauty Peak. Until today, Wu Hui from Bright Beauty Peak had arrived. However, the tiger-shaped key had fallen into Lu Ming's hands. That was why they had come to find Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded. That made sense. Brother Lu, now that you have the tiger-shaped key, you naturally have a share of the ancient ruin. How about we explore it together? Han Liumu said. All right, when do we depart? Lu Ming asked. In a few hours we can depart. Han Liumu and the others were overjoyed. Brother Lu, you can make some preparations. We'll meet outside the city in 3 hours. Yi Tiannan said. Lu Ming nodded. Then everyone dispersed. Lu Ming casually strolled around and returned to his previous room. He closed his eyes and rested. 3 hours later, his figure flashed and headed outside the city. When he arrived outside the city, he noticed that Han Liumu, Wu Hui, and Yi Tiannan had already arrived. There were a total of 100 people from the 3 forces. And Lu Ming was alone, which made him seem quite special. If Lu Ming had not killed the flying ape in a domineering manner a few days ago and displayed shocking combat abilities, most probably no one would take him seriously. Brother Lu, you're here. Han Liumu was overjoyed. Lu Ming nodded and said, then let's depart. Immediately, more than 100 people rose into the air and flew towards the north. For hours later, they had already flown for more than 100,000 miles. The surrounding environment was getting more and more remote. There were mountains and ridges everywhere. After flying for another few thousand miles, a majestic mountain range appeared in front of them. This mountain range was endless, like a sleeping dragon. The group landed at the top of the mountain range. At the foot of the mountain, there was a huge stone door. The stone door was tightly shut. This is the ancient era's ruin. That stone door is the entrance. However, even after using all of our strength, we were unable to break open the stone door by even a tiny bit. We could only use the key to activate the inscriptions on the 4 statues to enter. Han Liumu pointed in front of the stone door. Lu Ming looked in that direction. True enough, he saw 4 statues outside the stone door. The 4 statues were the azure dragon, the white tiger, the vermilion bird, and the black tortoise. It corresponded to their 4 keys. Lu Ming, Han Liumu, Yi Tiannan, and Wu Hui looked at each other and flew forward. Lu Ming arrived in front of the white tiger statue. Then a metal plate appeared in each of their hands. Open! The 4 of them shouted and activated their true qi. Their true qi poured into the iron plate. The 4 metal plates immediately emitted a hazy radiance. In the next moment, the 4 statues also began to emit light. Inscriptions appeared one after another, flowing with brilliant colors. The glow of the statue and the glow of the 4 iron medallions resonated with each other. Then, the light from the 4 statues gathered together and shot toward the stone door. Crack, crack. When the light hit the stone door, it began to emit cracking sounds and slowly opened. Ha ha ha, the ancient era's ruin has opened. We didn't wait for nothing. At this moment, an excited laugh came from the distant sky. Numerous black figures were rapidly approaching from afar. Not good. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. We've been targeted. Han Liumu's face changed. They're from the Serene Demon Palace. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. In the distant sky, the figures that were flying over at high speed were all dressed in black skeleton robes. Wasn't that the uniform of the Serene Devil Hall? Serene Demon Palace. It's the Serene Demon Palace. The geniuses from Hangu, Radiant Peak, and the other 2 forces exclaimed. Since you opened the ancient era's ruin, I can let you go. Hurry up and get lost. A cold voice came from afar. The people from the Serene Demon Palace were very fast. At first, they were still dozens of miles away, but now they were close and would arrive soon. Lu Ming sneered and reached out to grab the tiger-shaped key. His figure flashed and rushed toward the stone door like lightning. Who is it? Damn it, how dare you rush in? You're courting death. A furious roar could be heard. It's him? I can see that he killed a few of our junior brothers. One of them sent me an image. It's that brat. A cold voice sounded. Let's rush in too. Han Liumu gritted his teeth and rushed toward the stone door. Then, Yi Tiannan and No Return's forces rushed toward the stone door. All of this took a long time to describe, but in fact it only took a few breaths. Whoosh! Whoosh! When Yi Tiannan and the others rushed through the stone door, more than 100 figures appeared in front of the stone door. They were all experts from the Serene Demon Palace. The person in the lead was slender and had a cold expression. His body exuded a terrifying aura. His aura was several times stronger than the flying ape. Charge! The cold youth ordered. In an instant, more than 100 people from the Serene Demon Palace rushed through the stone door. But once they entered the stone door, they couldn't help but stop. This was because there were 4 paths in front of them. They didn't know where they led. Eldest senior brother, what should we do? A 2-meter-tall young man looked at the cold-looking young man. This cold youth was the strongest expert from the Serene Demon Palace, Yufeiyu. Split up and chase. Junior brother Feisher, you take some people and chase this path. Junior brother Fei, you take some people and chase this path. Yufeiyu immediately ordered. Okay, I'll make whoever takes this path regret it. The tall youth shouted coldly and led 20 youths to the leftmost path. There was a path with a white tiger carved on it, and they disappeared in the blink of an eye. The others from the Serene Demon Palace also led their people and chased after the 3 paths. Once Lu Ming dashed through the stone door, he dashed toward the leftmost path without hesitation. It was the path with the white tiger engraved on it. The path was very long. After rushing for more than 10 miles, he found something strange. There were a few stone rooms on both sides of the path. Lu Ming walked in and took a look. He was a little disappointed. From these stone rooms, it wasn't difficult to tell that this should be an alchemy room. However, too much time had passed, and everything inside had turned to dust. Even the alchemy furnace had decayed and nothing was left. Lu Ming didn't stop and continued to move forward. Suddenly, his body came to an abrupt stop. This was because he felt as if his body had suddenly become many times heavier. It was as if there was an endless pressure acting on his body. There's an inscription array in this area that produces an extremely strong pressure. It's not easy to walk, let alone fly. Lu Ming thought to himself. He tensed his body and circulated his true qi to resist the pressure outside, and continued to move forward. However, this greatly reduced Lu Ming's speed. Chapter 393. Lu Ming walked onto the platform, and felt a wave of hot air blowing against his face. It was as if he was in a furnace. There was a deep pit in front of the platform, and the path ahead was blocked. In the deep pit, scorching heat waves were constantly rising. Lu Ming walked to the edge of the platform and realized that the deep pit was circular, and had a diameter of at least 1,000 meters. There were flames at the bottom of the pit. The strange thing was that the flames had 3 colors. The flames danced in the air and were dazzling. Is this the tricolored primordial flame? Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Tricolored primordial flame was a special flame in heaven and earth. It was much more magical than ordinary flames, and was much more powerful. There was another platform on the opposite side of the deep pit. There was a passageway in front of the platform that led to an unknown place. Lu Ming furrowed his brows. If he was outside, he would be able to cross the distance of 1,000 meters with a slight sway of his body. But here, he was suppressed by the inscription array. He could not even cross 100 meters, let alone 1,000 meters. Lu Ming then found 2 chains on the left and right sides of the deep pit. Could it be that I crossed through these 2 chains? Lu Ming pondered. Thud, thud, thud. At that moment, there was a rush of footsteps. Then, more than 20 youths from the Serene Demon Hall appeared. The leader was the tall youth, Yu Feisher. When Yu Feisher saw Lu Ming, he immediately roared. Brat, senior brother Feiyu said that you killed many disciples of the Serene Demon Hall. How dare you kill disciples of the Serene Demon Hall? You're courting death. Then, together with the tall youth, the 21 youths rushed toward Lu Ming. Each of the 21 youths exuded a powerful aura. Especially the leader, Yu Feisher, whose aura was extremely terrifying. Early stage of the martial ancestor realm. Lu Ming frowned. Yu Feisher's cultivation had reached the early stage of the martial ancestor realm. The other 3 youths had reached the peak of the martial ancestor realm. Their auras were even stronger than Fei Yuan's. Lu Ming did not doubt that each of them was a Battle 3 genius. Other than these 4 people, the remaining dozen or so people were not weak either. 21 people quickly closed in on Lu Ming. Die brat! Yu Feisher revealed a sinister smile as a brilliant sword light shot towards Lu Ming. There was no doubt that his terrifying attack power was displayed. He was definitely a Battle 3 genius. Don't take it head-on. Lu Ming's mind raced. An early-stage martial ancestor realm 8th layer martial ancestor realm cultivator, in addition to the triple battle genius, had surpassed him in terms of battle prowess. If he were to take the attack head-on, he would be at a disadvantage. Lu Ming's figure flashed, trying to avoid the sword light. Chi-chi. In the next moment, the sound of air being torn apart was heard as dozens of sword lights enveloped him. 9 dragons stomping the heavens. Lu Ming took a step forward, and space trembled. Bang! Bang! More than a dozen sword lights instantly shattered, but there were still a few sword lights that stubbornly held on, and continued to slash towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's figure flashed continuously. Poochie! There was still a sword light that hit him, leaving a sword wound on his chest that was bleeding profusely. Underworld demonic life and death sword. Die! Yu Feisher shouted as he slashed out with his sword. 1 black and 1 white sword light shot out, enveloping Lu Ming. There was no way to avoid it. This sword had completely locked onto Lu Ming, and there was no way to avoid it. Heaven's Path Palm. Lu Ming struck out with his palm, and a huge palm print blasted forward. Bang! First, it was the black sword light that emitted a sharp killing intent that collided with the Heaven's Path palm print. With a loud boom, the black sword light dissipated, but the Heaven's Path palm print was also pierced through. The white sword light flashed and continued to attack Lu Ming. Block it! His long spear shook, and the spear light shot out like a dragon. Boom! The spear light and sword chi swept out in all directions. The demon banishing spear in Lu Ming's hand actually bent, and an extremely powerful force surged towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body involuntarily retreated. Behind him was the deep pit that contained the tricolored primordial fire. Lu Ming's body floated out of the platform, and his body was suspended in the air. Below him, a scorching aura surged up. At the critical moment, Lu Ming waved his hand, and a chain formed from true chi wrapped around the iron chains on both sides of the deep pit. Still want to struggle? Duh. Yu Feisher slashed out a few more sword chi, aiming at Lu Ming's true chi chain. Puchi. The true chi chain was cut apart, and Lu Ming's body fell rapidly into the deep pit. You dare to kill someone from the Serene Demon Palace, and you'll be buried in a sea of fire. Consider yourself lucky. Yu Feisher watched as Lu Ming's body disappeared into the sea of fire, and he sneered. The tricolored primordial fire's temperature was terrifying. It was dozens or even hundreds of times stronger than ordinary flames. Lu Ming used his true chi to block it, but it was useless. His true chi began to burn. One should know that he cultivated the true chi of the true dragon of combat arts, which was much stronger than ordinary true chi. If he could not block it, ordinary true chi would be burned to ashes in an instant. Even so, Lu Ming could not hold on for long. Endless tricolored primordial fire burned fiercely in all directions, and it was extremely hot. Lu Ming's true chi was rapidly depleted, and some parts of his true chi were even burned through. The scorching flames surged in, and Lu Ming's body made sizzling sounds. If his body had not reached rank 6 upper tier, he would have been burned to a crisp. What should I do? If this goes on, I'll die. Lu Ming's mind raced as he tried to think of a way to escape. It was difficult to fly here. Lu Ming's body kept falling, and the lower he fell, the stronger the tricolored primordial fire became. If this went on, he would not be able to hold on for long. At this moment, something strange happened. Lu Ming's glabella glowed, and something suddenly rushed out. It's the stone egg. Lu Ming was shocked. Wasn't the stone egg that had rushed out of his glabella the heaven gate in the Qianjiang water region? He could sense a weak life aura from this stone egg. However, Lu Ming had used all kinds of methods, but could not make this stone egg react at all. Lu Ming had thought that this was a useless egg. But now, the stone egg had rushed out of the Temple of Paragon. Most importantly, he had placed the stone egg in the Temple of Paragon, and the stone egg had rushed out of the Temple of Paragon on its own. This was incredible. Buzz. The stone egg flew out and floated above Lu Ming's head. It shook slightly, and immediately, a cool aura spread out and enveloped Lu Ming. Immediately, Lu Ming felt that the flames around him had retreated, and he felt cool all over, without any heat. Although he was still falling, the tricolored primordial fire could no longer hurt him. His body continued to fall, and in the blink of an eye, he had fallen a few thousand meters. Suddenly, the surroundings changed, and Lu Ming rushed out of the tricolored primordial fire's area. Dozens of meters below, Lu Ming saw the ground. He flew down and landed on the ground. He looked up, and there seemed to be a barrier dozens of meters above, blocking the tricolored primordial fire. Where is this? Then Lu Ming looked around. Chapter 394. He found that the ground under his feet was not ordinary ground, but a kind of metal. It was a dark red metal with strange patterns engraved on it. The whole ground was made of this metal. Lu Ming walked to the side. After about 600 meters, he saw a wall. The wall was also made of this metal with patterns of flowers and plants engraved on it. Clang. Lu Ming took out a level 4 battle saber from a storage ring and slashed at the metal wall. The battle saber shook and bounced away. There was not even a mark on the metal wall. This can't be an alchemy furnace, right? Suddenly, Lu Ming had a bold guess. The whole deep pit and the surrounding metal walls made Lu Ming think of an alchemy furnace. An alchemy furnace with a diameter of more than 1,000 meters and a depth of several thousand meters. At the thought of this, Lu Ming gasped a breath of cold air. What kind of elixir was such a huge alchemy furnace used to refine? Buzz. At this time, the stone egg shook and flew in a direction. Lu Ming just realized that there was still this stone egg. Just now, Lu Ming's attention was attracted and he forgot about the stone egg. This time, the stone egg seemed to have come to life like a living creature, which made Lu Ming very surprised. He had spent a lot of effort before, but there was no movement at all. Is there something here that attracted the stone egg? Thinking of this, Lu Ming chased after it. When he came to the center of the deep pit, the stone egg soared into the sky. The surface of the stone egg was filled with a strange aura, and the tricolored true fire actually avoided it. The tricolored true fire avoided it, and a vacuum area was revealed. A golden elixir the size of a longan was suspended there. Lu Ming's eyes almost popped out. There was actually an elixir here? Moreover, this elixir looked too extraordinary. It was golden all over, like the legendary Great Tao Golden Elixir. On the surface of the elixir, there were real dragons and divine phoenixes flying around. It was very mysterious. Most importantly, Lu Ming felt that this pill contained an endless amount of energy essence. It was definitely a supreme treasure pill. Could it be that such a large pill furnace was used to refine this pill? Could it be that the stone egg's abnormality was also due to this pill? Obviously, the answer was yes. The stone egg crazily rushed to the side of the pill. Its round body was actually trembling slightly, as if it was excited. Then, a crack suddenly appeared on the stone egg. Like a mouth, it swallowed the golden pill in one gulp. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. Then he wailed, "No, at least leave some for me." His cries were incomparably miserable. That pill was clearly a supreme treasure pill. Who knew how many years had passed, but its spiritual essence was still intact. From this point alone, one could tell how terrifying it was. If he took it out, it would definitely be worth a lot. But now it had been swallowed by the stone egg. Wastrel! Lu Ming roared. Kacha kacha. The stone egg chewed on the pill as if it was eating candy. Kacha kacha sounds could be heard. At the next moment, Lu Ming saw traces of golden powder floating down from the stone egg. This was a trace of residue accidentally leaked out when it was chewing the pill. These fragments also rippled with powerful spiritual essence fluctuations. I can't waste it. Lu Ming gritted his teeth. He controlled the 9 dragons' bloodline, opened his mouth, and instantly sucked the residue into his mouth. Boom. Boom. When the residue was sucked into his mouth, Lu Ming felt as if thousands of volcanoes had erupted all of a sudden. Endless energy essence burst out, and the 9 dragons' bloodline swelled up like a balloon, almost bursting. Endless energy crazily swept over. It was really too powerful. Lu Ming was almost scared to death. He then shouted, "Refine, refine for me." He controlled the 9 dragons' bloodline, and frantically tried his best to refine it. Huff huff. The 9 dragons' bloodline was 100 meters long in the shape of a flood dragon. At that moment, it had turned into a fat worm that had become round and bulging. A vast amount of energy surged into Lu Ming's body. This energy was extremely pure. There was almost no need to refine it, and it was converted into genuine qi. The cyclone in his dantian spun crazily. Lu Ming's cultivation started to soar crazily. Originally, Lu Ming's cultivation had reached the early 6th stage of the martial ancestor realm. Now it was rising rapidly. In a few breaths' time, he had reached the late 6th stage of the martial ancestor realm. However, he had no intention of stopping and continued to soar. No, the energy is too strong. I can't convert it in time. Lu Ming realized that the speed of his cultivation was not as fast as the speed of the energy surging into his body. The majestic energy brought great pressure to his physical body and meridians. It was as if they were about to explode. Absorb, the bloodline is also absorbing. Lu Ming did not care anymore. He controlled the 9 dragons' bloodline and frantically absorbed the energy. With the absorption of the bloodline, the pressure on Lu Ming's body finally decreased. However, the speed of his cultivation was still terrifying. In just 1 minute, Lu Ming's cultivation had reached the peak of the 6th stage of the martial ancestor realm. Roar. At that moment, the 9 dragons bloodline roared and 3 silver chakras appeared on his body. Level 3 King Class Bloodline. The 9 dragons bloodline had leveled up. Lu Ming was overjoyed. This elixir might contain the blood essence of a supreme being. Otherwise, the 9 dragons bloodline would not be able to level up. Lu Ming pondered. That was because ordinary energy could not level up the bloodline. However, this was a good thing. When the 9 dragons bloodline leveled up, the devouring and refining power would be stronger, and the refining speed would be faster. Boom. 2 minutes later, Lu Ming's body shook and the cyclone spun crazily. 7th stage of the martial ancestor realm. In just a few minutes, Lu Ming's cultivation had increased by an entire level. This was simply unbelievable. However, it was not over yet. It was still going on. Roar. After a while, the 9 dragons bloodline roared again, and another silver chakra appeared on his body. Level 4 King Class Bloodline. The 9 dragons bloodline had leveled up again. If this was seen by others, they would probably be scared to death. Whoosh. Whoosh. After leveling up twice, the 9 dragons bloodline finally withstood the pressure. Although its body was still round, it was no longer in danger of exploding. The leveling up continued. The early stage of the 7th stage of the martial ancestor realm. The middle stage of the 7th stage of the martial ancestor realm. Before long, Lu Ming's cultivation had reached the peak of the 7th stage of the martial ancestor realm. At that moment, the 9 dragons bloodline had leveled up again and reached the 5th stage of the king class. It's time to level up the 2nd bloodline. Lu Ming had an idea. He began to control the 9 dragons bloodline and transfer a large amount of energy to the 2nd bloodline. Lu Ming always felt that the 2nd bloodline was extraordinary. There was a huge stone tablet with fog on it. There seemed to be words on it, but they could not be seen clearly. Lu Ming repeatedly tried to comprehend something from the stone tablet, but he always felt that he was blocked by a mysterious force and could not comprehend it. Now the 2nd bloodline could only enhance Lu Ming's strength and defense. Chapter 395. Lu Ming was looking forward to the 2nd bloodline because it was awakened in his body, unlike the 9 dragons bloodline, which was awakened with the 9 dragons blood essence. With the influx of surging energy, the chakra of the 2nd bloodline shone brighter and brighter. The energy of the 9 dragons bloodline was about to be exhausted. A few more minutes passed. The 2nd bloodline vibrated and made a buzzing sound. On the basis of the original 4 silver chakras, the 5th chakra was condensed. The 2nd bloodline was promoted to the 5th tier of the king class. When the 2nd bloodline was promoted to the 5th tier of the king class, the fog on the stone tablet seemed to have faded a little. However, the words on the stone tablet could not be seen clearly. He could only vaguely make out that there were 3 words. At this moment, there was a roar in Lu Ming's body. An extremely powerful aura soared into the sky and made a big hole in the 3-colored genuine fire above his head. The 8th tier of the martial arts Grandmaster realm. Lu Ming broke through and reached the early stage of the 8th tier of the martial arts Grandmaster realm. At this time, the energy of the elixir residue was finally completely refined. Whoosh. Lu Ming opened his eyes and 2 beams of light shot out from his eyes and shot hundreds of meters away. The 8th tier of the martial arts Grandmaster realm is too powerful. Lu Ming was overjoyed when he felt that the genuine qi in his body was more than 10 times stronger than before. Not only that, but even the 2 bloodlines were continuously upgraded and reached the 5th tier of the king class. This saved Lu Ming a lot of blood essence. Moreover, the 9 dragons bloodline had upgraded by 3 levels, and its devouring power was more than 10 times stronger. When it was used, the effect on others would be greatly enhanced. What kind of elixir is that? Its efficacy is too terrifying. It's just a little residue, but it can make my cultivation and bloodline improve crazily. How terrifying would it be if it was a whole elixir? Thinking of this, Lu Ming hurriedly looked up. A stone egg the size of a human head floated in the air, emitting an intense light. What was different from before was that the stone egg was now emitting a dense life force. It was not like before, when there was only a sliver of life force. What kind of egg is this? It can refine a whole elixir. This is too terrifying. Lu Ming shouted in his heart. He had only refined a small amount of residue, and he almost exploded. If he were to consume the entire elixir, he had no doubt that he would explode instantly. However, the stone egg could refine the whole elixir, which was really strange. The vitality in the stone egg was getting stronger and stronger. What on earth is inside? Is it going to hatch? Lu Ming thought to himself as he looked at the stone egg with anticipation. Unfortunately, he was disappointed. After the stone egg emitted a burst of bright light, it quickly quieted down. To the stone egg. He didn't even hatch the pill. He refined an entire pill. And yet he didn't show off? Lu Ming was dumbfounded. At this moment, the stone egg floated down slowly and landed in front of Lu Ming. Lu Ming stretched out his hand and tried to lift it, but it did not budge. Why is it so heavy? To the stone egg. Isn't this too heavy? Previously, it was only about 1,000,000 kilograms. Now it's at least 10 million kilograms. Lu Ming was shocked. What kind of egg is this? It's unbelievably heavy. Lu Ming wanted to keep the stone egg in the Temple of Paragon, but the stone egg didn't move in his hand. No way. I can't keep it. Lu Ming was speechless. He continued to try, but gave up after a while. He could keep it in the Temple of Paragon before, but now he couldn't even keep it in the Temple of Paragon, let alone a storage ring. It was useless. Don't tell me that I'm going to have to carry this stone egg that weighs tens of thousands of kilograms everywhere in the future? Then I'll die of exhaustion. Lu Ming widened his eyes and stared at the stone egg. He was speechless. But he couldn't bear to throw the stone egg away. The stone egg was too strange. Lu Ming couldn't bear to throw it away. Buzz. At that moment, the stone egg in Lu Ming's hand moved. It shone faintly and flew a few rounds in the air. At the same time, the stone egg shrunk rapidly. In the end, it shrunk to the size of a fingertip and landed on a strand of hair beside Lu Ming's ear. It hung on his hair and swayed. He couldn't feel its weight at all. This works too? Lu Ming's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. After a while, he was overjoyed. This was good too. It solved a big problem for him. Now people from the Serene Demon Palace, wait for me. Lu Ming looked up with bright eyes. Immediately, Lu Ming walked to the side of the pill furnace and climbed up along the pill furnace wall. There was an inscription array here, so he couldn't fly. Lu Ming climbed up along the wall like an ape. When he entered the three-colored primordial fire, the stone egg on his hair shone faintly and a cool feeling spread throughout his body. The three-colored primordial fire had no effect on Lu Ming. Soon, Lu Ming passed through the flames and returned to the platform. There was no one there. The people from the Serene Demon Palace must have entered the passage ahead along the two chains. Lu Ming moved. He stepped on the chains and rushed to the opposite side. When he reached the opposite side, he rushed forward. After a few miles, Lu Ming felt his body lighten. The pressure around him disappeared and Lu Ming could fly again. Whoosh! Lu Ming's speed increased by dozens of times and he rushed forward. In a few breaths, he rushed through the long passage. In front of him, there was a shout. Quick, quick, dig up these spirit herbs. Some of them are extinct in the outside world. If we bring them back to the sect to sell, they will be invaluable. A rough voice was heard. It was the voice of the tall youth from the Serene Demon Palace. Whoosh! Lu Ming rushed out, and a wide grassland came into view. The grassland was hundreds of acres wide, and there were all kinds of spirit herbs on it. At a glance, there were level 1, level 2, level 3, and all the way to level 4 spirit herbs. There were all kinds of them and they were full of vitality. Some of them were strange and Lin Fan had never seen them before. Medicinal field. This was a real medicinal field. However, there were no traces of level 5 spirit herbs. It's you. Lu Ming rushed out and naturally alarmed the people from the Serene Demon Palace. More than 20 pairs of eyes looked at Lu Ming. When they saw Lu Ming, they were stunned. Kid, you fell into the three-colored primordial fire and you didn't die. Yu Feisher exclaimed in disbelief. If you didn't die, how could I? Lu Ming smiled faintly and his eyes turned cold. Haha, kid, I don't know if I should call you stupid or brainless. I don't know what method you used to escape from the three-colored primordial fire, but since you escaped, You didn't take the opportunity to escape. Instead, you came here to die. You're the only one in the world. Feisher laughed loudly. His tone was filled with disdain. Laugh all you want. You're about to die. There's no harm in laughing a little longer. Lu Ming smiled coldly. Kid, you're the one who's about to die. Clang. With a cold shout, a sword light slashed at Lu Ming. Chapter 396. Other than Feisher, he was one of the most powerful experts from the Serene Demon's Hall. He was at the peak of the martial arts Grandmaster realm, and a triple battle talent. He was even more powerful than Fei Yuan. As the sword radiance flashed, the space trembled. First one. Lu Ming muttered. He moved his hand and his genuine chi formed a long spear. He thrust it at his opponent. Bam. As the long spear swept past, the sword radiance collapsed like a piece of tofu. The spear hit the expert hard. Bam. In an instant, the expert's eyeballs popped out. Before he could even scream, his body exploded. His flesh and bones were stimulated by the force and pierced through the experts from the Serene Demon's Hall. How could this be? Watch out. The people from the Serene Demon's Hall were shocked. Then chaos ensued. Their genuine chi exploded to block the flesh and bones that were piercing through them. Poof. Poof. It was as if bullets had hit their bodies. Instantly, more than a dozen disciples from the Serene Demon's Hall who were weaker had bloody holes in their bodies. They fell to the ground and screamed. How could this be? Feisher shouted in disbelief. He had killed a triple battle talent who was at the peak of the martial arts Grandmaster realm in one move, and severely injured more than a dozen experts. How could this be possible? Even he could not do it. I have to thank you for this. Under the three-colored genuine fire, I had a fortuitous encounter, and my cultivation sword. Lu Ming looked at Feisher and said with a faint smile. No, it's impossible. Feisher shouted. He could not accept this. He had wanted to kill Lu Ming, but instead, he had helped Lu Ming and allowed him to have a fortuitous encounter. How could there be such a thing in the world? When he thought of this, he was so depressed that he wanted to go crazy. Die. Lu Ming shouted coldly. Boom. His figure moved, and he took a step forward. 9 dragons sky-stomping steps. An unimaginable force exploded from Lu Ming's feet. Block it. Block it for me. Feisher roared and joined forces with the remaining 5 or 6 people to block with all their might. However, everything was in vain under Lu Ming's attack. Bam. Bam. Bang. Apart from Feisher, the other disciples of the Serene Devil Palace screamed as their bodies exploded, including those who were injured. Roar. The bloodline of the 9 dragons flew out and devoured everyone's essence blood. Feisher's situation was not much better. Under Lu Ming's attack, many of his bones were broken. He lay on the ground like a pile of mud. How could this be? Feisher roared, finding it hard to bear. Lu Ming actually killed him because of his fortuitous encounter. This was simply too laughable. He really wanted to roar at the sky and ask the heavens why they were treating him like this. What's your name? You can go now, Lu Ming coldly said. With a flick of his finger, a spear light flew out and pierced Feisher's throat. Lu Ming was now in the early stage of the 8th realm of the martial ancestor realm. He was close to being a Battle 5 genius. Killing Feisher and the others was as easy as cutting grass. After killing Feisher, Shaochen devoured his essence blood, and put away the storage ring of the Netherworld Demon Palace disciple. Then Lu Ming looked around. There were all kinds of spiritual herbs in the herb field. However, they were all level 1, level 2, and level 3 spiritual herbs. The highest was level 4. Although there were some rare spiritual herbs, they were too low level and were not of much use to Lu Ming. Why aren't there any level 5 spiritual herbs? Lu Ming pondered. Then he took out Feisher's storage ring and looked at it. He was overjoyed. There were more than a dozen level 5 spiritual herbs in Feisher's storage ring. They emitted a strong medicinal fragrance. It was not that there were no level 5 spiritual herbs here, but that they had been dug up by Feisher and the others. After taking another look at those low-level spirit herbs, Lu Ming began to pluck some of the level 4 spirit herbs. As for the low-level spiritual herbs, Lu Ming could not be bothered to pick them up. Even if there were less of them in the outside world, Lu Ming was not an inscription master, and did not know how to plant them. After digging them up, they would probably die. After plucking the level 4 spirit herb, Lu Ming's figure moved and he headed forward. There was a passage at the end of the herb field. Lu Ming rushed into the passage and disappeared. At this time, in the depths of the ruin, there was a huge bronze palace. The gates of the bronze palace were tightly shut. At the entrance there were 4 small statues of the azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird and black tortoise. They were about 1 meter tall. At this time, there were more than 100 people gathered in front of the bronze statues. Han Liumu, Yi Tiannan, Wu Hui, and the others were among them. But at this time they were in a sorry state. Especially Han Liumu, Yi Tiannan and the others. There were many injuries on their bodies. Their auras were weak and their faces were pale. The 3 factions originally had more than 100 people, but now there were only a few dozen people left. The others were all disciples of the Serene Demon Palace in black robes. They surrounded Han Liumu and the others. "Yu Feiyu, we've given you the key to this ruin. Now can you let us go?" Han Liumu looked at the leader of the Serene Demon Palace. This person was the strongest disciple of the Serene Demon Palace. "Yu Feiyu, let you go? There are only 3 of the 4 symbols keys. We're still missing the white tiger key. Before the 4 keys are gathered, don't even think about leaving." Yu Feiyu sneered. "We've already said that the white tiger key is not with us." Han Liumu gritted his teeth. "I don't care about that. You came in together. Without the 4 keys, you can't enter the bronze palace. Stay here obediently." Yu Feiyu said indifferently. His tone was unquestionable. "Damn it, Yu Feiyu, don't go too far. You've already killed so many of our people. Now that we've given you the keys, you want to go back on your words?" Yi Tiannan roared. "Haha." Yu Feiyu sneered. His eyes were filled with mockery. "So what if I'm bullying you? Can you resist? In this world, the weak have no right to speak. Right now your fates are in my hands. Whether I let you go or not depends on my mood. Do you understand?" Yu Feiyu looked down at Han Liumu, Yi Tiannan and the others. His tone was filled with arrogance. Kiki Han Liumu gritted his teeth. His eyes were bloodshot. Humiliation. Incomparable humiliation filled their hearts. They were on the verge of exploding. However, they knew that if they resisted, they would die. Thus they could only endure it. Yu Feiyu glanced at Han Liumu and the others. Then he looked at the passage on the left and frowned. Yu Feisher still hadn't arrived. This made him somewhat unhappy. What's wrong with Yu Feisher? He took so long to deal with a small fry. This guy is getting more and more unreliable. A big-nosed youth beside Yu Feiyu said. Maybe he's delayed by something. Another person said. Could he have been killed? Hee, senior brother Feiyu, let me go check the situation. Chapter 397. And Yu Feiyu nodded and ordered. Junior Fei, go and check the situation. Find Junior Feisher and tell him to bring the white tiger key to meet us. Yes. The big-nosed young man cupped his fists and was about to leave. At this moment a voice rang out. No need. Your junior brothers won't be able to come. Who is it? Yu Fei shouted coldly. Yu Feiyu and the others couldn't help but look at the passage on the left. A young man who was not even 20 years old walked out. Lu Ming. Brother Lu. Han Liumu, Yi Tiannan, and the others exclaimed when they saw the young man. This young man was Lu Ming. He followed the passage in the herb field and arrived here. When he arrived, he heard the conversation between Yu Feiyu and the others. It's you? Kid, you're still alive? The big-nosed young man shouted coldly. Nonsense, of course I'm still alive. Are you blind? Lu Ming curled his lips and reprimanded. The big-nosed young man's breathing stagnated, and his eyes flashed with killing intent. Kid, it seems like Yu Feisher and the others didn't find you and let you escape. However, you came here. This is your fate. No one can save you. Hurry up and hand over the white tiger key. I'll give you a quick death. The big-nosed young man scolded with a haughty expression. There was a big guy who was as arrogant as you. In the end, I sent him on his way. It seems like I'll have to send you on your way too. Lu Ming smiled faintly, murderous intent flashing in his eyes. What? You killed Wuxia? Shameless boasting. I'd like to see how strong you are. The big-nosed young man stepped forward and his sword flashed. A cold sword light slashed towards Lu Ming's head. It was as fast as lightning. 8th-stage martial ancestor realm. This big-nosed young man was no weaker than Wuxia. With a flick of his finger, the demon-banishing spear appeared in his hand. Just as Lu Ming was about to sweep out with his spear, at this moment, the stone egg hanging in his hair suddenly flew out and turned into the size of a human head. It ignored the sword light and sword aura, rushed past it, and smashed into the big-nosed young man's face. It just so happened to hit the big-nosed young man's nose. Gotcha! The big-nosed young man screamed and fell to the ground. Whoosh! The stone egg flew back and floated in front of Lu Ming, bouncing back and forth like a mischievous rubber ball. He seemed to be extremely excited. This. Lu Ming was tongue-tied and dumbfounded. Yu Feiyu, Han Liumu, and the others were dumbfounded. Is this even possible? What kind of stone is this? Lu Ming threw out a stone, and it actually injured the big-nosed youth with a single strike. What kind of treasure was this? At this moment, the big-nosed young man was lying on the ground, screaming in agony. His face was covered in blood, and the area around his nose had completely caved in. Even his facial features could not be seen clearly. Everyone broke out in cold sweat. How pitiful! This stone egg. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He stretched out his hand, wanting to grab the stone egg. Unexpectedly, the stone egg was very lively. It jumped a few times in the air and landed on Lu Ming's shoulder. Lu Ming did not feel any weight at all. Haha, this stone egg is so lively. What is it? Lu Ming was even more curious. He suddenly felt that the pill had not been wasted. Attack together. Be careful of that stone egg. Yu Feiyu gave the order, looking at the stone egg on Lu Ming's shoulder with a grave expression. He was not confident that he could defeat the big-nosed young man with a single strike. Whoosh! Whoosh! With a flash, the disciples of the Netherworld Demon Palace surrounded Lu Ming and looked at the stone egg with fear. None of them wanted to be hit like that. As for Lu Ming, they instinctively ignored him. As for Han Liumu and the others, their eyes flickered with hope. They had already given up hope. Even though Lu Ming had arrived, they did not have much hope. They knew that Lu Ming's combat strength was about the same as theirs. It was impossible for him to be a match for the experts of the Netherworld Demon Palace. However, they did not expect that Lu Ming would throw out a stone egg and defeat the big-nosed young man with a single strike. This gave them hope. The stone egg on his shoulder glowed. Whoosh! Suddenly, the stone egg flew out again and smashed toward a 7th-stage martial ancestor realm genius. That genius was shocked. He roared and unleashed his full strength. His bloodline power and true chi erupted as he set up a dozen defenses. However, it was useless. Bang! The stone egg instantly passed through the defenses and smashed into the young man's head. The young man screamed as his head cracked open like a watermelon. He fell to the ground and died. A one-hit kill. Everyone sucked in a cold breath. Especially the disciples of the Netherworld Demon Palace. Their faces were filled with fear. Even Yu Feiyu was shocked and fearful. Whoosh! After killing one of them, the stone egg flew back to Lu Ming's shoulder and jumped around excitedly. Let's attack together. That stone egg can only deal with one person at a time. Let's attack together and kill this bastard. Then, the stone egg will become an ownerless object and we won't be afraid of it. Yu Feiyu shouted. Kill! Kill! 70 to 80 disciples of the Netherworld Demon Palace charged toward Lu Ming. Instantly, 70 to 80 rays of sword chi surrounded Lu Ming from all directions. The space around them boiled and was stirred up by the sword chi. The power of 70 to 80 geniuses attacking at the same time was too shocking. Then all of you can die. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with killing intent. Boom. Boom. Lu Ming's second bloodline power was unleashed, greatly increasing his strength. At the same time, the 9 dragons' bloodline power flew out and opened its mouth to roar. A terrifying devouring power erupted and enveloped the disciples of the Netherworld Demon Palace. Suddenly, not good. My bloodline power is leaving my body. My essence blood is unstable. It's going to rush out of my body. The disciples of the Netherworld Demon Palace screamed in fear. In an instant, the sword chi became chaotic. Now that Lu Ming's cultivation had improved greatly, and his 9 dragons bloodline power had risen by 3 levels, how terrifying was his devouring power! Those whose cultivation levels were lower than Lu Ming's were almost unable to control their bloodline power, and were sucked out of their bodies. They were unable to unleash much of their combat strength. 9 dragons stomping the sky. At that moment, Lu Ming executed the 9 dragons stomping the sky steps. Boom. The entire space trembled. Then bam, bam. The disciples of the Netherworld Demon Palace exploded like rotten potatoes. Drops of essence blood flew into the mouth of the 9 dragons' bloodline power. 81 people. With this stomp, 81 people were killed. Only Yu Feiyu and 3 other disciples of the Netherworld Demon Palace were still alive. The 3 of them were all martial ancestor realm 8 and above, but they were half dead. Even Yu Feiyu was in the same state. He was the number 1 genius of the Netherworld Demon Palace. His cultivation level had reached the mid-stage martial ancestor realm 8, and his combat strength had surpassed that of the 3 battle geniuses. However, under Lu Ming's stomp, he was still severely injured. He knelt on the ground and vomited blood. How could this be? How could this be? Yu Feiyu screamed hysterically as if he had gone mad. He found it hard to accept this. With one move, the most elite disciples of the Netherworld Demon Palace were all killed. How could he be so powerful? Chapter 398. Could it be that Lu Ming had been hiding his strength all this time? Yu Feiyu felt like he was dreaming. Brother, let me go. Please let me go. I can give you everything I have. Yu Feiyu cried out. He didn't want to die. He didn't want to die at all. He was the strongest among the younger generation of the Serene Devil Hall, and he would definitely inherit the position of Hall Master of the Serene Devil Hall in the future. He would become the overlord of a large region, ruling over vast mountains and rivers, millions of citizens and countless beauties. He could get whatever he wanted. With such a great future in front of him, how could he be willing to die? Compared to his life, what was face? Let you go? After I kill you, won't your belongings be mine? Lu Ming sneered. No, don't kill me. I know of a treasure. As long as you let me go, I'll tell you the location of the treasure. Yu Feiyu cried out. On the side, Han Liumu, Yi Tiannan, and the others watched this scene with complicated feelings. Yu Feiyu, who was high and mighty and controlled their lives, was now begging for mercy in front of Lu Ming like a dog. How quickly the world changed, it was truly miraculous. This was the change brought about by strength. In the martial world, the strong were supreme. Only the strong could rule over everything. It was no wonder that most cultivators wanted to increase their cultivation, not hesitating to take risks. Treasure. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Then tell me the location of the treasure first. Promise to let me go first. Then I'll tell you the location of the treasure. Yu Feiyu cried out, his eyes flickering. Seeing that Lu Ming seemed to be interested in the treasure, his heart was filled with hope. He was thinking about how to negotiate with Lu Ming. But in the next moment, whoosh! A spear light shot out, piercing through Yu Feiyu's heart. The powerful energy crushed Yu Feiyu's heart. Why? Yu Feiyu cried out in despair. His eyes popped out like a dead fish's, filled with disbelief. Even in his dreams, he couldn't understand why Lu Ming would suddenly want to kill him. Wasn't her heart already moved? Let's not talk about whether what you said is true or not. Even if there is such a treasure, I won't let you go. I don't want to leave behind future troubles because of an unknown treasure. A faint voice sounded from Lu Ming's mouth. Yu Feiyu roared unwillingly and stopped breathing. After that, Lu Ming's figure flickered as he killed the remaining disciples of the Serene Devil Palace. At the same time, he did not let go of any of their storage rings and blood essences. On the side, Han Liumu, Yi Tiannan, and the others were dumbstruck. Brother Lu, thank you for saving me. Han Liumu stepped forward and cupped his fists at Lu Ming in gratitude. Nothing? I was just passing by, Lu Ming said indifferently. Then he walked towards the entrance of the Bronze Palace. Han Liumu and the others watched from behind and didn't follow. Lu Ming walked to the entrance and waved his hand. Instantly, 4 keys appeared in his hand. Lu Ming didn't return them to Han Liumu and the others. He got them from Yu Feiyu, so naturally they were his spoils of war. He wasn't so kind as to return them to Han Liumu and the others. Buzz. As soon as the 4 keys appeared, they aimed at the 4 statues and flew into their mouths. Crack! The entrance of the bronze palace slowly opened, revealing the dark environment inside. Lu Ming did not hesitate. In a flash, he dashed into the door and disappeared. Behind him, Han Liumu, Yi Tiannan, and the others looked at the entrance with uncertain expressions. Brother Han, are we going in? Yi Tiannan asked Han Liumu. Han Liumu's eyes flickered as if he was hesitating. After a while he sighed and said, "You've all seen Lu Ming's strength. It's unfathomable. I think he was hiding his strength when he fought with the flying ape. He's definitely a peerless monster from some super region. This kind of person's temper is unpredictable. If we go in and make him unhappy, we'll die in his rage." Han Liumu looked at the entrance with fear in his eyes. "I agree with Brother Han's opinion. This kind of person isn't someone we can provoke. Let's leave this place," Wu Hui also said. Yi Tiannan sighed. Although he was unwilling, there was nothing he could do. Immediately, Han Liumu and the others left one by one. They went back and searched for treasures along the way. There was a deathly silence in the bronze hall. After Lu Ming rushed into the entrance, he saw a large hall. There were several large alchemy furnaces in the hall. However, these furnaces were all corroded and had lost their spirituality. Lu Ming walked around the hall, but found nothing. There was another bronze door at the back of the hall, but it was closed. Lu Ming pushed hard. With a click, the bronze door opened. There was no need for a key. The bronze door opened and Lu Ming walked in. This was a room that looked like a secret room. It was much smaller than the hall. There were 2 shelves on both sides. On the shelves there were some bottles and jars. In the middle of the room, there was an alchemy furnace. On the side, there was a table. Lu Ming first walked towards the shelves and picked up the bottles and jars. Unfortunately, although there were pills inside, they had turned into ashes under the corrosion of time. All the pills and spirit medicines were useless. Lu Ming was greatly disappointed. He walked toward the table again. On the table, there were 2 things. A box made of unknown material. It was unknown how many years had passed, but it was still intact. Lu Ming picked up the box and opened it to take a look. Suddenly he was stunned. In the box, there were dozens of crystals. Each of them was about the size of a longan. Moreover, they were divided into many colors. Some were yellow, some were blue, some were red, some were green. The most important thing was that each crystal was emitting a mysterious aura. It was similar to force, but it was many times more mysterious than force. Lu Ming reached out and picked up a fiery red crystal. After carefully examining it, his body trembled slightly. His eyes were filled with ecstasy. "This is an ultimacy crystal. Haha, this is definitely an ultimacy crystal." Lu Ming almost laughed out loud. He had never imagined that he would be able to find ultimacy crystals here. Moreover, there were dozens of them. An ultimacy crystal was born from the ultimacy of heaven and earth. It would take a long time to produce one. An ultimacy crystal contained a rich intent of heaven and earth. It could be used to comprehend the intent of heaven and earth. After one's force reached perfection, if one used an ultimacy crystal to comprehend intent, one could quickly comprehend true intent. If a martial king used an ultimacy crystal to cultivate, it would greatly speed up the comprehension of intent. It could be said that an ultimacy crystal was a treasure that even a martial king would covet. Ultimacy crystals were divided into various attributes. For example, wind attribute ultimacy crystal, fire attribute ultimacy crystal, thunder attribute ultimacy crystal. However, regardless of the attribute, an ultimacy crystal could be sold for at least 1 billion lower spiritual crystals in the market. Chapter 399. Lu Ming counted carefully. There were a total of 29 ultimacy crystals. I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich. Lu Ming's eyes shone brightly. He didn't need anything else. Just these Upanishad crystals were enough to make him rich. Lu Ming closed the box and kept it in the Temple of Paragon. Then Lu Ming picked up the book and flipped it open. This time, Lu Ming was a little disappointed. This was not a cultivation technique manual, or a martial technique manual. It was a book about alchemy. It seemed that this ruin was the residence of an alchemy master. Everything about it was related to alchemy. Lu Ming did not know much about the Tao of inscription. After flipping through a few pages, he put it away. Then he walked toward the alchemy furnace. The alchemy furnace was as tall as a person. It was simple and unadorned. There were various patterns of flowers and plants carved on it. However, it looked black. Although it did not decay like the other alchemy furnaces, it did not seem to have any spirituality. Forget it, I'll keep it first. I might be able to sell it for a good price. Lu Ming smiled and put the alchemy furnace into a storage ring. Lu Ming walked one round and did not find anything. He walked out of the bronze hall and found that Han Liumu and the others were no longer there. Lu Ming smiled and did not mind. He casually chose a path and walked out. After leaving the ruin, Lu Ming did not stay any longer. He turned into a ray of light and flew back to the city. When Lu Ming returned to the city, he heard a piece of shocking news. The Dragon's Cave was opened. Dragon's Cave? Lu Ming was shocked. The Dragon's Cave was said to be the nest of a dragon. A long time ago, a true dragon lived there. It was a very famous magical place in the Dongming ancient battlefield. However, the Dragon's Cave and the surrounding area were all covered by the runes. It could not be opened normally. It was said that even the experts of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace could not open it. The last time it was opened was a few thousand years ago. Now it was opened again? That was a peerless land of treasures. It was said that there were countless spiritual herbs, and even secret treasures left behind by the true dragon. Everyone's heart was burning with passion. They all left the city and headed towards the Dragon's Cave. Dragon's Cave. We can't miss it. Lu Ming whispered, his eyes shining brightly. He cultivated the true art of the Dragon of War, and the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps, awakening the bloodline of the 9 dragons. Everything was related to dragons. Now that he had encountered a dragon's den, how could he miss it? The true dragon battle art had been stuck at the 5th level for a long time, and it was difficult to advance. If he could obtain a treasure related to the true dragon, he might be able to advance to the next level. At that moment, Lu Ming also rose into the air and headed in the direction of the Dragon Cave. The dragon's den was located in the western part of this place, in a vast mountain range. It was over 1,000,000 li away from this place. Lu Ming sped forward, and when night fell, Lu Ming entered the Supreme Divine Palace. Then, he took out the level 5 elixirs he had obtained from Euphasure and the others. He activated the Myriad Spirits battle body, and began to strengthen his physical body. Lu Ming's physical body improved rapidly again. The next day, Lu Ming continued on his way. Boom, boom. When Lu Ming passed by a forest, he heard a roar in front of him. There was a battle. Lu Ming moved like a ghost and jumped into the forest. The roar became louder and louder, and Lu Ming quickly approached. He then flew onto a large tree and hid in the leaves, looking forward. Thousands of meters away, more than 100 figures were surrounding a single figure. Jian Fengyan. Lu Ming immediately recognized the figure who was surrounded. It was Jian Fengyan, the genius who was ranked first on the Emperor Cloud leaderboard. And Prince Sky Snake, Blue Cloud, Dao Yin Feishuan. Lu Ming looked around and saw Prince Sky Snake, Blue Cloud, and the others among the people who had surrounded Jian Fengyan. Not only that, but there were also geniuses from the Thousand River region. Lu Ming saw Li Qiushui, Jiang Chun, and a young man who was ranked 18th in the Thousand River region, and had left a scar on Jian Fengyun's face. There were also many experts from the Thousand River region that Lu Ming did not know. Jian Fengyan, I advise you to stop struggling. Today you will die. Prince Sky Snake sneered. Sky Snake, you are despicable. How dare you join the Thousand River region and become their lackeys? I, Jian Fengyan, am ashamed to be with you. Jian Fengyan shouted angrily. At this moment, there were more than 10 wounds on his body that were dripping with blood. Jian Fengyan, don't be so harsh with your words. This is called, a wise man submits to circumstances. The geniuses of the Thousand River domain all have the potential of dragons and phoenixes. They are all peerless geniuses. How can we compare to them? Jian Fengyan, if you surrender now, I can help you ask for mercy and spare your life. Prince Sky Snake shouted. Prince Sky Snake was arrogant and thought that he was a rare genius. However, after entering the Dongming ancient battlefield, he realized that he was wrong. There were too many geniuses. Any one of them was not weaker than him, and there were many who were stronger than him. Especially when they encountered the experts of the Thousand River region, he immediately surrendered. Of course, Blue Cloud Dao, Yin Feishuan, and the others also surrendered. As the lackeys of the Thousand River region, they killed those who did not surrender on the Emperor Yun list and besieged Jian Fengyan. This Sky Snake is quite suitable as a lackey. In the crowd, a young man in a blue robe with a large river embroidered on it smiled faintly. Brother Wan is right. The reason why I did not kill them was because I thought that using them would allow me to better control the Cloud Emperor mountain range. It is better than killing them. With his talent, he appeared to be very respectful when he stood next to this young man. That's right. The young man in blue nodded. At this moment, Jian Fengyan was furious and shouted, Wei Sky Snake, you are shameless and cowardly. Why would I, Jian Fengyan, be afraid of death? You are just a bunch of lackeys. Enough. Young Master Sky Snake shouted angrily. Being called a lackey by Jian Fengyan left and right, young Master Sky Snake's face flushed red. Jian Fengyan, this is all your fault. There's also that bastard Lu Ming. You're blind and audacious. How dare you offend the geniuses of the Qianjiang waters? You're the one who caused all of this. Do you know that? If you had obediently surrendered to the geniuses of the Thousand River region, none of this would have happened today. Young Master Heavenly Snake roared hysterically. That's right, Jian Fengyan. You have only yourselves to blame for this. You failed to recognize Mount Tai, especially that little bastard Lu Ming. He actually dared to injure the elites of the Qianjiang waters. Blue Cloud Dao shouted. Ha ha ha, a group of scum. You're shameless. Back then, I should have killed all of you with Lu Ming. Jian Fengyan laughed loudly. Jian Fengyan, you don't have the chance now. Prepare to die. And that bastard Lu Ming will die sooner or later. You two will accompany him then. Prince Sky Snake sneered. Is that so? I am right here. Let's see how you are going to kill me. Chapter 400. A voice was heard, and a figure walked out from a tree step by step. The figure was naturally Lu Ming. Who is it? Everyone's expression changed and hundreds of pairs of eyes looked towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming. Lu Ming, it's you? Young Master Tianxi Lan Yundao. And the rest could not help but exclaim when they saw Lu Ming. Haha, Lu Ming, I don't know if you're stupid. You actually dared to walk out on your own. I admire your intelligence. But this is good too. It saves us the trouble of looking for you. Blue Cloud said with joy on his face. Little bastard. Are you here to beg for mercy? It's too late to beg for mercy now. How about this? If you agree to be my dog for 20 years, I can ask the supreme talents in Qianjiang water region to spare your life. Li Qiushui sneered. He looked at Lu Ming with a cold and vicious gaze. He wanted to tear Lu Ming into pieces. He thought that Lu Ming had come out to beg for mercy. However, how could he agree so easily? He wanted to humiliate Lu Ming before he killed him. Where did these retards come from? Lu Ming glanced at Blue Cloud, Li Qiushui and the others and said indifferently. This sentence, coupled with Lu Ming's disdainful expression, almost made Lan Yundao and Li Qiushui's mouths crooked. Courting death, you're courting death. Li Qiushui roared. Lu Ming, hurry up and leave. You must expose Prince Sky Snake, Blue Cloud and the other shameless actions to the public. Don't let the world be deceived by them. Jian Fengyan shouted. Don't even think about it. Young Master Tianxi, Lan Yundao and the others' faces fell. What they had done could not be spread out. Otherwise, there would be no place for them in the Cloud Emperor mountain range. Swoosh. Swoosh. Prince Heavenly Snake and Blue Cloud said. Ji Ruffing, Yang Liuji and the others moved, pouncing towards Lu Ming. But Lu Ming stood there motionlessly with a faint smile on his face. Figures flashed. Young Master Heavenly Snake and 10 odd people surrounded Lu Ming. Ha ha ha, let's see where you can run now. Young Master Sky Snake sneered. Alas! Seeing this, Jian Fengyan let out a long sigh. There was despair in his eyes. Lu Ming was surrounded. Young Master Heavenly Snake and the rest's despicable actions were no longer spread by anyone. Could it be that the Cloud Emperor mountain range would fall into the hands of these people in the future, and then be easily controlled by the Qianjiang Water region? Jian Fengyan was truly unwilling to accept this. Lu Ming, you ran away last time. Let's see how you're going to run this time. Blue Cloud sneered at Lu Ming. Oh, if you have the ability, then come at me. Do you believe that I won't slap you to death? Lu Ming glanced at Blue Cloud and said. Lu Ming, don't be arrogant. See how I'll kill you. Lan Yundao shouted with a confident look on his face. Boom. A powerful aura rose from Blue Cloud's body. Early stage martial ancestor realm 7th realm. During this period, Blue Cloud's cultivation had made another breakthrough and reached the early stage martial ancestor realm 7th realm. It was no wonder that he was so confident. Haha, Lu Ming die. I'll kill you like killing a chicken. Blue Cloud laughed. Blue light burst out from his body and a resplendent saber light slashed towards Lu Ming. He was indeed much more powerful than before. Everyone in the Qianjiang Water region sneered and gloated. But in the face of such a saber light, Lu Ming remained motionless. Don't tell me you're stunned after seeing Blue Cloud's breakthrough. Young Master Heavenly Snake laughed softly. Die, Lu Ming. Go to hell. Young Liuji roared. He was about to see Lu Ming die in front of him, and he felt extremely comfortable. Ever since he met Lu Ming in the remains of Imperial Yun Palace, he had been suppressed by Lu Ming. He had always hoped that Lu Ming would die. Now his wish was finally going to come true. Swoosh! The blue saber light was like a blue gem. It was crystal clear and powerful. It was about to hit Lu Ming's head. At that moment, Lu Ming moved. What was even more shocking was that he actually slapped out. Bam! A slap landed on the blue blade light. The blue blade light was like a bunch of fragile bubbles, bursting with a loud bang. Then the slap didn't stop, slapping towards Lan Yundao's face. Smack! A crisp sound rang out, and Lan Yundao cried out in pain. His body spun a few times in the air under the force of the slap, and then fell heavily to the ground. I. Lan Yundao glared at Lu Ming, his eyes filled with disbelief. The next moment, with a poof, Lan Yundao's body was torn into pieces and fresh blood flowed all over the ground. Dead. Blue Cloud was dead. He was slapped to death by Lu Ming. This. Young Master Tianqi, Yang Liuji Yin Feishuan, and Li Qiushui stared with their eyes bigger than eggs. Their mouths were wide open. How is this possible? You cheated. You must have cheated. After a while, Yang Liuji reacted and shouted hysterically. Blue Cloud, who was many times stronger than him, was slapped to death by Lu Ming. How could Lu Ming be so strong? He found it hard to accept. On the other side, Feng Xinyu, the blue-robed young man, and the other geniuses of the Qianjiang Water region looked solemn. You're just an ant. You're so annoying. I'll send you to accompany him. Lu Ming glanced coldly at Yang Liuji. No. Yang Liuji was horrified. He quickly retreated and was almost scared out of his wits. However, swoosh! A spear radiance burst out and pierced through Yang Liuji's throat. Yang Liuji held his throat tightly. His eyes were filled with unwillingness. In the end, he fell to the ground and stopped breathing. Now it's your turn. Lu Ming looked at young Master Tianqi, Yin Feishuan and the others. Young Master Tianqi and the others were shocked. Lu Ming, don't be arrogant. The geniuses of the Qianjiang Water region are here. How can you be tolerated? Young Master Tianqi shouted. Lu Ming's combat strength made his heart tremble. Although he was stronger than Blue Cloud, it was impossible for him to kill him with one slap. Lu Ming's combat strength was definitely above his. Kill. I must kill him with the help of the Qianjiang Water region. Otherwise, there will be another Jian Fengyan in the Cloud Emperor mountain range. I won't be able to stand out. Young Master Tianqi roared in his heart. He looked at Lu Ming with jealousy in his heart. Qianjiang Water Region? They won't be able to leave. Lu Ming smiled faintly. However, his words caused an uproar in the Qianjiang Water Region. What? What does this kid mean? Could it be that he wants to spare our lives? What an arrogant kid. He's a frog at the bottom of a well. He thinks he's invincible just because he has some skills. This kid deserves to die. He dared to talk back to us before entering the Dongming ancient battlefield. We can't let him live. Cold voices were heard in the Qianjiang Water Region. Even Jian Fengyan was stunned. He did not know what Lu Ming was trying to do. On the other hand, young Master Tianqi, Yin Feishuan, and the others were overjoyed. Lu Ming was really stupid to be so arrogant. They did not need to do anything now. The geniuses of the Qianjiang Water Region would not let him go. As expected, I'll kill you. Chapter 401. This young man was wearing a purple shirt and boots, with a purple jade belt around his waist. Even his combat sword was purple in color. His entire being exuded a noble aura. Zidong, the one ranked 19th in the Qianjiang Water Zone. As soon as this young man appeared, someone exclaimed softly. Ranked 19th in the Qianjiang Water Zone, he was already an expert on the same level as Jian Fengyan. Zidong was very arrogant. He looked coldly at Lu Ming and exuded a powerful aura. He said, Lu Ming, although your combat strength is not bad, you are too arrogant. However, I can give you a chance. If you can take 3 of my attacks and not die, I can consider sparing your life. Take 3 of your attacks and not die? Haha, you are really full of confidence. If you want to fight, do it quickly. I can give you a chance to use your sword. You better use all your trump cards. After that, you won't have a chance. Lu Ming said indifferently. Who didn't know how to be arrogant? How arrogant? Then die. Zidong's killing intent burst forth, and his body emitted a strong purple light. Extreme purple sword technique, sword from the east. Zidong roared and unsheathed his combat sword. In an instant, the sky was filled with purple qi. Immediately after, in the purple aura, a purple sword gleam pierced toward Lu Ming like a flying immortal from outer space. It was so fast that it left a long trail in the sky. Bam! However, what greeted him was Lu Ming's kick. Lu Ming's kick did not use the 9 Dragons Heaven Stomp. It was just an ordinary kick, but it contained powerful genuine qi, as well as the power of wind and fire. With this kick, the purple sword light shattered, and the kick landed directly on Zidong's face. In an instant, Zidong's face was deformed. He did not even have time to scream before he was sent flying backward. He crashed into 7 or 8 trees and slid on the ground, leaving a deep trail. He lay 1,000 meters away, his body twitching. He was breathing more than he was inhaling. His gasps could be heard. Everyone stared at Lu Ming in a daze. This was too overbearing, wasn't it? He had kicked Zidong to the brink of death with just 1 kick. What kind of combat power was this? Young Master Heavenly Snake, Yin Feishuan, and the others swallowed their saliva. They felt cold sweat drenching their backs, and their limbs were trembling. They couldn't help but wonder what would happen if Lu Ming kicked them in the face. Jian Fengyan was also in a daze. Then a hopeful look appeared in his eyes. Lu Ming's strength had exceeded his expectations. The young man in the blue robe and the 5 or 6 young men beside him wore stern looks. I told you, you only have 1 chance. Lu Ming glanced at Zidong nonchalantly, and then stopped looking at him. Humph, you're only an 8th layer martial ancestor realm cultivator. Among us, at least 6 of us are on par with you, and many of us are capable of killing you. Inside the Thousand River region, a young man snorted coldly. His body emitted a cold murderous intent. Oh. Who doesn't know how to talk big? That guy said the same thing. In the end, he couldn't even take 1 kick from me. I think you guys at the Thousand River region can only talk big. When it comes to fighting, you're all trash. Lu Ming gave the people of the Thousand River region a provocative look. Presumptuous. You're courting death. Instantly, the people of the Thousand River region were infuriated. With the young man in the blue robe as the center, powerful auras burst out. Their auras soared into the sky like smoke signals. It was extremely terrifying. Cut the crap. Come at me all at once. I'm too lazy to fight you one by one. There was a contemptuous smile at the corners of Lu Ming's mouth as he spoke lightly. What? You, the geniuses of the Thousand River region were furious. Lu Ming wanted to challenge all the geniuses of the Thousand River region by himself? This was a blatant insult, a blatant disdain. However, young Master Heavenly Snake, Yin Feishuan, and the others were overjoyed. They roared in their hearts, "Haha, this idiot Lu Ming, he's so arrogant just because he has some combat strength. He dares to challenge all the geniuses of the Thousand River region? He's courting death." Jian Fengyun's expression changed greatly as he yelled, "Lu Ming, you can't. The top 10 geniuses of the Thousand River region are all here. That young man in the blue robe is Jiang Wantian, who is ranked first in the Thousand River region. You can't be careless. You'd better break out of the encirclement quickly." Judging from Lu Ming's previous attacks, Lu Ming was definitely stronger than him. He had reached the 8th grade martial ancestor realm, and was definitely a Battle 3 genius. If Lu Ming tried his best to break out of the encirclement, he might be able to kill his way out. However, if he challenged all the geniuses of the Thousand River region, especially Jiang Wantian, he would definitely die. Lu Ming ignored them and continued to speak with disdain. "Hurry up. I've said it before. You can't leave today. If you don't want to fight, I'll do it. Presumptuous and ignorant. I'll kill you." A cold-looking young man roared and stepped forward. A long spear appeared in his hand, emitting a shocking aura. He was a genius in the early 8th grade martial ancestor realm, and was definitely a Battle 3 genius. Die. The cold-looking young man was very straightforward. He thrust his spear forward, and a shocking spear ray burst out. Nice spear technique. Lu Ming smiled faintly, and the demon-banishing spear appeared in his hand. He shook his arm and the demon-banishing spear shot out. Clang. The spear ray roared and the two long spears pierced each other. There was a loud explosion and ripples appeared on the two spears. Explode. Lu Ming whispered and surging genuine qi gushed out. At the same time, the power of wind and fire exploded. Crack! The cold-looking young man's upper LV4 long spear made cracking sounds and cracks appeared on it. Then, the cold-looking young man screamed and his body flew out like a cannonball. He flew for a few hundred meters before he stopped. There were a few gunshot wounds on his body and blood spurted out of his mouth. "I've said that you can only talk. When you fight, you're all trash." Lu Ming laughed disdainfully. He then shook his long spear and put it away. The demon-banishing spear should be a LV4 weapon. However, it was made of the same material as a LV5 spiritual weapon. It was extremely sturdy and could withstand Lu Ming's full power. "You are indeed capable. Today we can't let you go. Let's attack together and kill this person," Jiang Wantian said slowly with a grave expression. Lu Ming's strength was too shocking. Even he was not confident that he could win. He could only gather the strength of everyone in the Thousand River region to kill Lu Ming. "I've already told you to attack together. Now that the warm-up is over, I'll send you on your way." Lu Ming smiled faintly. "Kill! Kill!" Jiang Wantian shouted and a shocking aura rose from his body. Lu Ming felt that Jiang Wantian was not any weaker than Yu Feiyu. But so what? Besides Jiang Wantian, there were 5 other people who had reached Martial Ancestor Realm 8. In addition, there were more than 10 Martial Ancestor Realm 7 experts. With so many experts attacking together, their power was earth-shattering. "Go to hell!" Prince Tianxi and the others shouted in their hearts. At the same time, they retreated quickly for fear of being affected. "Lu Ming, be careful!" Jian Fengyan shouted. Chapter 402. Die. Nearly 20 geniuses of the 7th Martial Ancestor Realm, and each of them was an expert who had surpassed the Second World War. When they attacked together, the entire space was boiling as if it was about to explode. Sword Qi, Saber Radiance, Fist Force, Spear Radiance, etc., gathered together and blasted towards Lu Ming. Bam! Lu Ming stomped heavily on the ground and retreated rapidly. In an instant he had retreated 1,000 meters. Then he took a deep breath and his body suddenly rose. "Heaven's palm!" Lu Ming shouted and waved his palm. The spiritual chi of heaven and earth instantly boiled and was drawn over. A huge palm print formed and blasted towards Jiang Wantian and the others. Before the palm print arrived, the terrifying aura had already suppressed everyone's breathing. Jiang Wantian and the other geniuses of the Thousand River territory were shocked because the power of this palm print was too terrifying. "Oh no, hold on, you must hold on!" Jiang Wantian roared. "Stormy Wave's palm." Jiang Wantian roared as he struck out with his palm. A raging river was formed, and with the momentum of a raging wave, it blasted towards the heavenly Tao palm imprint. At the same time, various sword radiance and fist force exploded and blasted towards the heaven's palm print. Boom, boom. With so many people joining forces, the power was indeed terrifying. Various attacks blasted onto the heaven's palm print, and after each blast, the power of the heaven's palm print would weaken. When more than 20 attacks were exhausted, the power of the heaven's palm print was almost gone. Haha, he blocked it. Someone from the Thousand River territory laughed. They thought that Lu Ming could only use such a powerful attack once. "What are you so happy about?" Second palm print. A faint voice sounded, and the second heaven's palm print formed and blasted towards them. "Ah, why is there another one?" The experts of the Thousand River territory were in despair. They then unleashed all their strength and attacked. Boom. Once again, it clashed with the heaven's palm print. But this time, before the second palm print could be neutralized, a third palm print formed in the sky and blasted down. "No!" Jiang Wantian and the others shouted in horror and despair. Boom. The third palm strike slammed down, and they could no longer withstand it. The bodies of some 7th-level martial ancestor realm experts cracked as they were smashed to the ground by the palm force. They died instantly. A few 8th-layer martial ancestor realm experts spat out mouthfuls of blood and fell to the ground with serious injuries. Kill. Lu Ming did not give them the slightest chance. With a wave of his hand, he condensed a dozen long spears and shot them out. Puff. Poof. Jiang Wanchun and the others were all pierced through by the long spear and nailed to the ground. In just a few breaths' time, the top 20 geniuses of the Qianjiang Ocean were all killed. At the scene, the remaining people looked at this scene in shock. Oh my god, how could this be? How could this be? Among the people of the Thousand River region, Li Qiushui and Jiang Chun widened their eyes in shock. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. Lu Ming had actually killed one of the top 20 geniuses in the Thousand River domain. How was this possible? They broke out in cold sweat and trembled all over. As for young Master Heavenly Snake, Yin Feishuan, and the others, they were more or less the same as Li Qiushui and the others. They were scared out of their wits. Didn't the two of you want to attack me? Now, I'll give you a chance. Do it. Lu Ming glanced at Li Qiushui and Jiang Chun. Plop. Li Qiushui stammered for a long time but could not say a word. Suddenly, he knelt down with a plop and let out a miserable cry. Lu Ming, no brother Lu, no master Lu. I was blind and failed to recognize Mount Tai. You're a true dragon in the sky and I'm just a pitiful reptile. Please spare me. Plop. As soon as Li Qiushui finished speaking, another kneeling sound could be heard. It was Jiang Chun. Jiang Chun was even more exaggerated. He prostrated himself on the ground and shouted, Young hero Lu, please spare me too. I have an 80-year-old mother and a fiancé. They will rely on me in the future. As long as you spare me, I will be willing to do anything for you. His cry was so miserable that it was enough to make one cry. Lu Ming was stunned. It was the first time he had seen such a weirdo. Martial artists were prideful. Even if they were afraid of death, they wouldn't beg for mercy shamelessly. Lu Ming, don't listen to them. As far as I know, Jiang Chun doesn't have an 80-year-old mother or a fiancé. He has ruined many good girls. Jian Fengyan shouted. Jing, why do you want to harm me? Jiang Chun shouted. You talk too much. Lu Ming said coldly. He then waved his hand and two spear radiances flew out. Li Qiushui and Jiang Chun couldn't even react in time, and they were nailed to the ground. Run, run. There were still dozens of youths left in Qianjiang water region, and they were running for their lives. Lu Ming glanced at them and didn't chase after them. Most of the youths in Qianjiang water region had no grudges with him. Lu Ming wasn't a bloodthirsty person, and he wouldn't kill them all. Go. At this moment, young Master Tianxi and the rest were running in the same direction. Lu Ming looked over coldly. Then he took a step forward and his body flashed. When he appeared again, he was already in front of young Master Tianxi and the rest. Lu Ming, what are you trying to do? I know you are from the Blazing Sun Empire. If you dare to touch me, my family will flatten the Blazing Sun Empire. Young Master Tianxi shouted with a pale face. As long as all of you are dead, who will know it's me? Lu Ming smiled faintly and didn't care. He then looked at Jian Fengyun and said, Brother Jian, how about this? I'll let you deal with them. They wanted to kill Jian Fengyun and he could deal with them. Great, that's what I want. Jian Fengyun flew over and looked coldly at young Master Tianxi. Wei Tianxi die. Jian Fengyun shouted and unsheathed his combat sword. A powerful sword chi pressed towards young Master Tianxi. Jian Fengyun, don't think that I'm afraid of you. Let's see who is stronger today. Seeing that he couldn't escape, young Master Tianxi went all out. Thousand Snake Sword Technique. Shoo, shoo. Dense sword chi suddenly shot out from young Master Tianxi's hand. The sword chi was like a poisonous snake as it charged towards Jian Fengyun. Sword wind rises. Jian Fengyun whispered. Then, a sword radiance suddenly appeared and pierced through the void. All the sword chi that young Master Tianxi sent out was destroyed by the sword. Second sword blood river. Shoo. Jian Fengyun became one as the sword radiance flashed. Spurt. Young Master Tianxi's throat suddenly spurted out blood. A sword broke his roar. Jian Fengyun you. Young Master Tianxi roared and breathed his last. Run! Yin Feishuan was horrified and almost wet his pants. He turned and ran. Shoo! A sword radiance flashed and Yin Feishuan's head flew up. Then, sword radiance flashed and the remaining people from the Cloud Emperor mountain range died under Jian Fengyun's sword. Traitor, you don't need to live in this world. Chapter 403. Lu Ming nodded silently. Jian Fengyun's cultivation had already reached the peak of the 7th level Martial Grandmaster realm. He was only a step away from the 8th level Martial Grandmaster realm. He was indeed far ahead in the Cloud Emperor mountain range. He was much stronger than Prince Tianxi, who was in 2nd place. Of course, Suemo was an exception. Brother Lu, thank you for saving me this time. Otherwise, I would have died in the hands of these despicable people. Jian Fengyun walked over and cupped his fists to thank Lu Ming. Brother Jian, you're welcome. These people have a grudge against me. Even if this did not happen, I would have killed them. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Jian Fengyun sighed. It had not been long and Lu Ming's cultivation had risen to a level that he could not catch up with. It was shocking. He was sure that Lu Ming was not so strong when he first entered the Dongming ancient battlefield. Otherwise, he would not have let Prince Sky Snake and the others go. Jian Fengyun pondered for a while and said, Brother Lu, are you going to the Dragon's Cave? That's right. Lu Ming nodded. That's great. We were going to the Dragon's Cave as well. We did not expect to meet the people from the Qianjiang water region. Prince Sky Snake and the others surrendered to the Qianjiang water region. Jian Fengyun gritted his teeth and said, Brother Lu, why don't we go together? Jian Fengyun changed his tone. Sure. Lu Ming nodded. The two of them rose into the air and flew toward the Dragon's Cave. When it was close to evening, they came to a strange place. From high up in the sky, one could see a huge mountain range lying on the ground in front of them, like a true dragon. They looked like real dragons and they could vaguely make out the dragon's head and tail. This is where the Dragon's Cave is. It is said that the real Dragon's Cave is deep in this area. The surrounding area is affected by the Dragon's Cave and the mountain range is shaped like a dragon. There are many spiritual herbs and treasures. However, it is said that this area is usually covered by the inscription formation, and it is impossible to find or enter. I did not expect it to be open now. Jian Fengyun whispered and his eyes were shining. Haha, that means we are lucky. Let's go. Having said that, Lu Ming's figure flashed and he flew forward. When he flew into the Dragon Cave area, he was a little surprised. That was because he could feel that the spiritual chi of heaven and earth here was even denser. It was very strange. Even though there was only a thin line separating them, the spiritual qi of heaven and earth was completely different. Furthermore, Lu Ming could sense that the dragon-shaped true energy in his body was circulating faster than before. If he could cultivate here, Lu Ming's cultivation speed would be much faster than anywhere else. After pondering for a moment, the two of them continued forward. Soon night fell. When the two of them were on guard against the specter, they realized that there was no specter at all. Everything was normal. Could it be that the dragon's lair is isolated from the entry of those specters? Jian Fengyan guessed. Lu Ming nodded. This was the only reason. However, this was a good thing. It saved him a lot of trouble. The two of them landed on a mountain peak and closed their eyes to meditate. Jian Fengyan had already suffered some injuries, and now, he was circulating his energy to heal himself. The night passed uneventfully. The next morning, the two of them continued their journey, heading deeper into the region. Whoosh! Whoosh! Suddenly, the sound of air being torn apart sounded in front of them. In front of them, a black-robed young man was flying rapidly. Behind him, dozens of figures were chasing rapidly. Xiao Haoyu, you can't escape. Be obedient and accept your death. Someone shouted from behind. Those who were with you are all dead. What's the point of living an ignoble existence like you? A cold laugh sounded. In front, the black-robed young man did not say a word and flew with all his might. It's the strongest person in the Valley Wind Mountain Range, Xiao Haoyu. I've met him once before. Jian Fengyan said softly. Lu Ming swept a glance and stood in the air, having no intention of interfering. Lu Ming was not a kind-hearted person. He would not bring unnecessary trouble to himself because of someone he did not know. Since Lu Ming did not move, Jian Fengyan naturally did not move either. Xiao Haoyu glanced at Lu Ming and the others before continuing to fly forward. However, just because Lu Ming and the others did not interfere did not mean that others would not look for trouble. Whoosh! Whoosh! In a flash, 7 or 8 figures surrounded Lu Ming. Xiao Haoyu die. Whoosh! Among the group of people, a terrifying saber light instantly tore through the void and slashed toward Xiao Haoyu at an unbelievable speed. Xiao Haoyu roared and tried his best to resist, but he was hit until he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. In the next moment he was also surrounded by the group of people. Everyone, what are you doing? We don't seem to have any grudges. Jian Fengyan's expression changed slightly. What are we doing? This is a robbery. The two of you, hand over your storage rings. Hand over your storage rings and I'll consider sparing your lives. Among the people surrounding them, a skinny young man who looked like a monkey sneered. Brothers, don't listen to them. They're from the desolate wilderness area and belong to a large area. Even if you hand over your storage rings, they'll still kill you. Not far away, Xiao Haoyu shouted. The desolate wilderness area. Jian Fengyan's expression changed when he heard that. The desolate wilderness area was the same as the Qianjiang water region. It was a large area. There were high-level empires overseeing it. Haha, Xiao Haoyu. What's the use of shouting so loudly? Do you think they can avoid death if they don't hand over their storage rings? An abnormally tall and sturdy young man, who was about 2 to 3 meters tall and had muscles all over his body, sneered. He looked like a small giant. Scram. Suddenly, a calm voice sounded. The voice wasn't loud, but it was filled with coldness. The voice belonged to Lu Ming. The young men from the desolate wilderness area were slightly stunned. Then someone's expression changed and he said coldly, Kid, what did you say? I told you to scram. Don't you understand human language? I'll give you 3 breaths of time. If you don't scram after 3 breaths, then don't scram. Lu Ming's voice was still unhurried, but the coldness in his voice was even more intense. Kid, you're courting death. I'll crush all your bones now. There were 8 strong young men surrounding Lu Ming and the others. At this moment, one of them took a big step forward and threw a punch at Lu Ming. Bang! In the next instant, the strong young man was sent flying a few thousand meters away by Lu Ming's kick. You, how dare you fight back? Let's kill him together. The remaining 7 people roared furiously and attacked Lu Ming. Bang! Bang! Following this, 7 explosions were heard as the 7 young men were sent flying a few thousand meters away by Lu Ming's kick. They spat out mouthfuls of blood and their bodies almost exploded. The young men surrounding Xiao Haoyu were stunned. Even the unusually tall and sturdy young man's expression turned serious. Among the 8 young men, there was a 7th-layer martial ancestor realm genius, but he was still sent flying by Lu Ming's kick. Lu Ming's strength was shocking. "I'll be merciful and spare your lives. Scram now," Lu Ming snapped. "Kid, you're pretty strong. Let me fight you. If you can defeat me, I'll leave right away." Chapter 404. Brother, be careful. He is the strongest expert of the desolated area, with a cultivation of the 8th-layer martial ancestor realm. His strength has surpassed the Battle 3 geniuses. Xiao Haoyu yelled. Hee, it's too late now. Desolation godly fist. The bulky young man let out a roar as he lashed out a punch. The punch caused the heavens and earth to tremble violently, as if a mountain range was hurtling toward Lu Ming. Furthermore, a huge mountain floated above the bulky young man's head, with 5 silver chakras shining brightly. The power of the punch was even stronger after the bloodline was unleashed. 9 dragons stomping the heavens. Lu Ming executed the 9 dragons stomping the heavens. Bang! A punch and a kick collided with one another. Following this, the crowd could see the bulky young man's fist crumbling instantly. His steel-like muscles began to tremble violently. Bang! Following this, his body was sent flying backward like a deflated balloon. He flew for 3,000 meters before coming to a stop, with blood spurting out from his mouth. Run now. The bulky young man let out a roar and ran for his life without hesitation. The rest of the people in the desolated area were scared out of their wits, who immediately fled a few thousand meters away. At that instant, everyone in the desolated area had fled for their lives. Lu Ming did not chase after them. It was enough to teach them a lesson. Guys, thanks for saving my life. You're Jian Fengyan. At that instant, Xiao Haoyu flew over and took a closer look at Jian Fengyan. His eyes flickered as if he had recognized Jian Fengyan. Brother Xiao, it's been a few years since we last met. How are you? Jian Fengyan said with a smile. Brother Jian, it's really you. I didn't recognize you just then. May I know who this is? Xiao Haoyu glanced at Lu Ming with astonishment in his eyes. Being able to defeat the strongest expert of the desolated area with ease. His strength could easily be ranked among the top among the geniuses that had entered the Dongming ancient battlefield. Xiao Haoyu guessed that Lu Ming was most likely a genius from a super region. This is Lu Ming, Brother Lu, a peerless genius from the Cloud Monarch mountain range. Jian Fengyan introduced Lu Ming to Xiao Haoyu with a proud tone. What? Is Brother Lu a genius from the Cloud Emperor mountain range? Xiao Haoyu exclaimed in disbelief. What? If Brother Xiao doesn't believe me, then there's nothing to hide. Jian Fengyan said. Lu Ming smiled and said, I am indeed from the Cloud Emperor mountain range. I didn't expect the Cloud Emperor mountain range to have such a genius like Brother Lu. What an eye-opener. Xiao Haoyu exclaimed. Hey, Xiao Haoyu, what do you mean by that? It seems like our Cloud Emperor mountain range can't produce someone like Brother Lu? Jian Fengyan said with a glare. Brother Jian, you've misunderstood. That's not what I meant. Xiao Haoyu smiled bitterly and hurriedly said. Then he quickly changed the topic and said, Brother Lu, Brother Jian, are you going to the Dragon Cave? Not bad. Lu Ming and Wang Chong nodded. Then why don't we go together? Xiao Haoyu said. Lu Ming did not object. Since Lu Ming did not object, Jian Fengyan naturally did not object as well. Lu Ming naturally had his own thoughts. Xiao Haoyu was the strongest expert in a region. His talent and combat strength were not inferior to Jian Fengyan's. There was almost no problem for him to join the Ditian Divine Guards. In the future, Lu Ming would not know anyone in the Ditian Divine Guards. It would only be beneficial for him to get to know a few more people now. The 3 of them moved forward together. On the way, Lu Ming also found out why Xiao Haoyu was being hunted down by the people in the desolate region. The reason was that the experts from the various large regions were all hunting down the experts from the small regions, especially the strongest experts from the small regions. They all had a chance of joining the Dtion Divine Guards, and if they killed these people, the competition in the large regions would be a little smaller. Perhaps more people would be able to join the Dtion Divine Guards. It seems that the later it will be, the more chaotic it will be. Jian Fengyan sighed. Only a little more than a month had passed, and those large regions had already started hunting down the experts in the small regions. He really did not know how chaotic it would be in the later stages. This was the goal of the Dtion Divine Palace. Only by surviving the various dangers and trials could one become a Dtion Divine Guard. The three of them moved forward. However, their speed was not very fast. They flew at a low altitude. As they flew, they searched for spiritual herbs. The Dragon Cave region nurtured many natural treasures. However, along the way, the three of them did not gain much. They saw many pits in many places. Obviously, other people had already dug out the spiritual herbs. This region was really vast. The three of them flew for tens of thousands of miles, but they still had not reached the real location of the Dragon Cave. Look, there are corpses over there. Jian Fengyan suddenly shouted. Lu Ming and Xiao Haoyu also saw a large number of corpses lying in a valley below. Let's go and take a look. The three of them flew down. When they took a look, their expressions changed. In the valley, there were no less than 100 corpses. All of them were dead. The most shocking thing was that these corpses were all dried up. It was as if all the blood and essence in their bodies had been sucked away. What a strange way to die. Could it be some strange monster? Xiao Haoyu sucked in a breath of cold air and frowned. Lu Ming also frowned and pondered. It was really strange that their blood and essence had been sucked dry. For example, the 9 dragons' bloodline only devoured blood essence and bloodline power. It would not devour ordinary blood. Then the three of them continued to move forward. However, not far away, they saw another pile of corpses. They were also dried up. Those are people from the desolate wildlands. Xiao Haoyu exclaimed. Among these corpses, there were some who were particularly burly. Based on their clothes, it was obvious that they were from the desolate wildlands. Even the strongest person in the desolate wildlands is dead. Jian Fengyan said in a deep voice. Among the corpses, there was one who was particularly burly. Based on his clothes, it was the strongest person in the desolate wildlands that Lu Ming had chased away. This region is too strange. How did they die? Jian Fengyan said. Jian Fengyan and Xiao Haoyu's faces were solemn. Even the strongest person in the desolate wildlands died here. It was too terrifying. Let's leave this place. Lu Ming said. Jian Fengyan and Xiao Haoyu nodded. Immediately, the three of them soared into the sky and left this place. However, a few hundred miles away, they saw dozens of corpses. They had died in the same way as before. I have a feeling that something big will happen in this trip to the Dragon's Cave. Xiao Haoyu said in a deep voice. Then there was a moment of silence. Soon, the three of them traveled another 10,000 miles. There are so many people there. What are they doing? Suddenly, Jian Fengyan said. Not far away on the right, there was a huge cliff. There were many people gathered at the bottom of the cliff. Let's go and take a look. Lu Ming said. The three of them flew over. That. What a powerful sword intent. Chapter 405. Swoosh. The three of them landed at the bottom of the cliff. There were already more than 20 people gathered at the bottom of the cliff. These people were in different positions and kept a distance from each other. Some of them were sitting cross-legged as if they were comprehending something. Some of them were looking at the sword mark on the cliff seriously. At this point, they could see more clearly. On the huge cliff, there was a slanted sword mark that was more than 100 meters long. It was deeply engraved on the cliff, and was filled with an ancient aura. No one knew how long it had been passed down. An incomparably profound sword intent permeated the air. Lu Ming stared at the sword mark carefully. Suddenly, the sword mark enlarged rapidly in Lu Ming's eyes. In the end, the entire world changed. The world turned into a battlefield and shouts of killing filled the sky. Suddenly, a sword light slashed from afar. It was vast and boundless. It was impossible to describe the magnificence of this sword. When the sword light came out, the sky cracked. The sword light was getting closer and closer to Lu Ming. It contained a peerless killing intent. Ah! Lu Ming roared and retreated quickly. The environment changed. Lu Ming found that he was still at the bottom of the cliff. He took 3 steps back and left 3 footprints on the ground. Phew! Lu Ming let out a long breath. The sword strike just now was really like facing the Grim Reaper. Around him, some people glanced at him and then turned their heads away. They did not find it strange. "Brother Lu, are you all right?" Jian Fengyun looked at Lu Ming. "I'm fine." Lu Ming shook his head. "Brother Lu is really a peerless talent. You can actually stay in the sword intent for half an hour. When you woke up, you only took 3 steps back. I only lasted for 10 minutes. When I woke up, I almost vomited blood." Xiao Hao Yu laughed. "It's a pity that Brother Lu doesn't cultivate the sword. Otherwise, you would definitely become a peerless swordsman." Jian Fengyun said. "Half an hour?" Lu Ming was surprised. Just now, he only felt that a while had passed. He did not expect half an hour to have passed. "Brother Lu, Brother Xiao and I plan to stay here and comprehend the sword intent here. I'm afraid we can't go to the dragon's cave with Brother Lu." Jian Fengyun looked at Lu Ming apologetically. "It doesn't matter. This sword was probably left behind by a peerless swordsman. For a sword cultivator, it is a supreme opportunity. If I were a sword cultivator, I would probably leave it behind to cultivate too." Lu Ming smiled. They were all martial artists, so he could understand what Jian Fengyun and the others were thinking. This sword mark was too tempting for sword cultivators. If they could comprehend a trace of it, they would benefit immensely. Compared to the dragon's cave, this place was more practical for them. To Lu Ming, it was better for Jian Fengyun and the rest to stay here. Lu Ming would be able to unleash his full potential if he ventured into the dragon cave alone. "I hope Brother Lu will be able to reap great rewards in the dragon cave." Jian Fengyun and Xiao Hao Yu cupped their fists together. "See you again." Lu Ming cupped his fists and turned into a beam of light, shooting up into the sky and disappearing. Following this, Lu Ming no longer slowed down to search for spirit herbs. Instead, he sped up. Along the way, Lu Ming saw a few fights, but he ignored them and flashed past. That is, half a day later, an incomparably majestic mountain range appeared in front of him. This mountain range was at least a few thousand miles long. It twisted and turned on the ground. Lu Ming could barely see the outline of this mountain range from a few hundred miles high in the sky. Looking from afar, this mountain range really looked like a true dragon. 5 dragon claws, scales formed from various rocks, and 2 dragon horns on the dragon's head. Its shape was exactly the same as the legendary true dragon. "This is the legendary Dragon Mountain. I've arrived at the Dragon Cave." Lu Ming's eyes lit up, and he quickly headed towards the Dragon Mountain's dragon head. When he got closer, he realized that this mountain range was really too majestic. The highest parts reached the clouds. When Lu Ming arrived at the dragon's head, he realized that many people were already there. At a glance, there were no less than 2,000 people. More than 2,000 people were scattered around a lake. This lake was very wide. Above the lake was the Dragon Mountain's dragon head. The dragon head was open, revealing a dark cave. At this moment, something strange was happening. The water in the lake flowed from the bottom to the top, forming a water column that continuously flew into the dragon's mouth. It looked like the true dragon was sucking in water. This was the dragon sucking water phenomenon. Legend had it that the true dragon cave was under this lake. As long as the lake water was sucked dry, the true dragon cave would be revealed. Thousands of people were waiting on the 4 sides of the lake. Lu Ming landed and blended into the crowd. "Brother Fong, why are there only a few of you left in the flowing water bay region?" Someone was chatting at the side. The others are all dead, hunted down by the people of the larger regions. What about you? Why aren't there many people left?" "Don't mention it. We also encountered a large region that attacked indiscriminately. The strongest people in our region were killed. On the other hand, the weaker ones escaped. However, the people of the larger region behind us also died. I saw their corpses drained of blood. It was extremely terrifying." "What? You also saw the corpses drained of blood? We saw it too. Lu Ming's expression changed. It seemed that the draining of blood did not only happen in the region he passed by, but also in other regions. As time passed, more and more people gathered here. Half a day later, there were no less than 3,000 people here. And the water on the lake had also decreased by a portion. Whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. Dozens of young men and women stepped on the air and arrived. These dozens of people had an extremely terrifying aura on their bodies, and they had a common characteristic. The men were very handsome, and the women were beautiful and charming. The people from the Lake Phoenix region are here. Someone exclaimed. It's over. I didn't expect that even the geniuses from the Lake Phoenix region would come. Will we still have a share in the Dragon Cave? Someone sighed. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He had naturally heard of the Lake Phoenix region. It was a region stronger than large regions like the Qianjiang water region, and was known as a super region. In a normal large region, there would only be one high-level empire overseeing it. And in a super region there would be at least 2 high-level empires, or even 3 or 4. They were incomparably powerful and filled with geniuses. It was said that the Lake Phoenix region had 3 high-level empires, mid-level empires and low-level empires. There were more than 1,000 empires, and it was many times stronger than the Cloud Emperor mountain range. Look, the one wearing the Phoenix robe is the strongest person in the Lake Phoenix region. The number 1 genius, Huang Qixian. It is said that he is a 4-battle genius, and his cultivation has reached the peak of the 8th level of the martial ancestor realm. What? A 4-battle genius? The peak of the 8th level of the martial ancestor realm is so terrifying? Of course, he is the strongest person in the super region. He is a peerless genius. Lu Ming also looked over. Indeed, among the people of the Lake Phoenix region, he saw a handsome young man wearing a phoenix robe. He was 22 or 23 years old, and his face was like jade. He was Huang Qixian. However, his gaze was incomparably cold and arrogant. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.